Good day! In today's lesson, we will be dealing with figures of speech. So when we say figures of speech, it is a word or phrase that possesses a separate meaning from its literal definition. So in other words, it has deeper meaning. So learning figure of speech is very important because through this, you can convey messages we want to say more vividly and forcefully. So our first figure of speech is accumulation. So the arguments previously stated are presented again in a forceful manner. So let's have an example. She has an attractive face, gorgeous smile, lovely hair, charming eyes, exquisite nose, flawless skin, graceful in her movements. In short, she is divinely beautiful. So it's like you are summarizing the main points you gathered or listed previously. So looking back in the example, here you just summarize all the descriptions mentioned into one, which is divinely beautiful. And as you may notice, it is done in a forceful manner. So next example. He schemed, he plotted, he lied, he stole, he raped, he brutally killed. In other words, he is an evil creature. So same thing with the example. The arguments previously stated are presented again in a forceful manner. So next figure of speech is adjunction. So it is a word, phrase, or clause that is placed at the beginning of a sentence. So usually these words are verb and placed at the beginning of a sentence. So example, too lazy to find examples I am. But get the picture, do you? So as you may notice here, the verb lazy comes first instead of the subject I, followed by the second sentence wherein a verb comes first again before the subject you. So in short, adjunction is contrary to the normal order of a sentence, which should be subject followed by the verb. But here, verb comes first before the subject. Next, instead of writing it as either with disease or age, physical beauty fades. In the adjunction, it became fades physical beauty with disease or age. Next example, instead of as we walk on by, the birds sings, here the verb comes first. Sings the bird as we walk on by. So those are examples of adjunction. Next, we have the figure of speech adnomination. So it is the repetition of words with a change in letter or sound. So here, root words are being repeated. Example, she is somebody from somewhere and she knows something. So as you may notice, the root word some was repeated with some changes in letter and sound. So from being somebody, it became somewhere and again became something. Next example, he is nobody from nowhere and he knows nothing. So the root word know was repeated in the sentence. Nobody, nowhere, and nothing. Next, we have alliteration. So it is the repetition of initial consonant sounds. So what are the consonant letters? So consonant letters are those letters which do not belong in the a, e, o, u vowel letters. So our consonant letters will be B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, and so on. So examples of alliteration are here. Fresh fern fronds from the forest. So as you can see, the initial consonant letter F is being repeated. Next, we have she sells seashells by the seashore. So as you can see, the consonant sound or consonant letter S is being repeated in the statement. And next, we also have example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So as you can see here, the consonant letter P is being repeated. So those are examples of alliteration. Next, we have allusion. So it quickly stimulates different ideas and associations using only a couple of words, making indirect reference. So in short, allusion makes reference to something or someone else. Example, describing someone as Adonis makes an allusion to the handsome young shepherd loved by the goddess of love and beauty herself in the great myths. Another example, chocolate is my Achilles heel. So Achilles heel in the Greek mythology pertains to Achilles' weakest spot. So when used in the example, chocolate is my Achilles heel, it only means that this is the speaker's weakness. Next, we have anaphora. So it is repeating a sequence of words at the beginnings of neighboring clauses to give them emphasis. So you are just repeating the same words in the beginning of clauses. So example, you are lovely, you are gorgeous, you are pretty, you are glorious, you just are. So as you may notice, we repeated the words you are in the sentence. Another example, in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every bond, the mind-forged manacles I hear. So here we repeated the words in every. So those are examples of anaphora. Next we have Antanaclasis. The word is repeated and whose meaning changes in the second instance. So in other words, we have the same sounding words and spelling but they differ in meaning. Example, the excuse is sound, nothing but sound. So note that the word sound in the first means reasonable, while in the second mention, it means sensation in the ear. So the meaning changes. So next, we must all hang together, or assuredly, we shall all hang separately. So hang means stay or stand, while the second means being hanged. Next example, while we live, let us live. So live means we are alive, and the second means to really make the most of life. Next figure of speech is anticlimax. So statements gradually descend in order of importance. So in other words, it is the arrangement of series of words in order of decreasing importance. So example, he lost his family, his car, and his cell phone. So as you can see here, the words are arranged in the descending order. So family comes first among the three. Family is more important, followed by a car because it's more expensive than a cell phone. So statements are gradually descend in order of importance. So another example of anticlimax is this one. He got back his dignity, his job, and his company car. Another example of anticlimax in a scenario is this. A firefighter enters a burning house because he hears sound like a child crying. So when he reaches the sound, all he finds is a cat meowing loudly. So when he exits from the house, the entire family is standing there, safe and sound. So as you can see from a thrilling scene, it turns down into a resolving scene. So that is an anticlimax. Next, we have antiphrasis. It is a word or phrase used to mean the opposite of its normal meaning to create ironic, humorous effect. So it is literally the use of word or phrase in a way that is opposite of what it really means. So this is basically used in sarcasm and irony. So let's have an example. She is 65 years old. Yeah. So how come she's still young knowing that she's already 65 years old? So how ironic, isn't it? Next example. Thanks for spraying me with water when I just spent an hour doing my hair. You are such a funny guy. So when someone did that to you, of course, you'll be mad. But here the person still managed to call the one who did it as a funny guy. How ironic, isn't it? Another example is this. Thank you for throwing the used gift wrapping papers when I was about to recycle it. So those are examples of antiphrasis. Next we have antithesis. It refers to juxtaposition of opposing or contrasting ideas. So in other words, the opposite of a statement, concept, or idea. So example, the sun may be the antithesis to the moon. The devil may be the antithesis to God. So I have here also provided other examples. So in example number 1, we have too many choices, too little time. So the phrase too many choices was opposed by the phrase too little time. So you have many choices, but you can no longer choose because of the limited time. Next example. Love is an ideal thing, marriage a real thing. So there's a contradiction for saying that it's okay to admire love, but it's much better if both of you will end up marrying each other. We also have another example. Many are called, but few are chosen. So those are antitheses. Next, we have apostrophe. So exclamatory rhetorical figure of speech in which a speaker or writer breaks off and directs speech to an imaginary person or abstract quality or idea. So meaning it is an expression addressed to an object or a deceased human. It's like you are talking to them. Example, O great Bonifacio, far up the fearful Filipinos. So here, apostrophe was used by calling someone who's dead, like Bonifacio. Next, hello darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. So here, the speaker is addressing or talking to the darkness as his old friend. Next figure of speech is the assonance. It is the repetition of vowel sounds to create internal rhyming. So the vowel sounds that we have are a, e, o, and u. So example, clap your hands and stomp your feet. So as you can see here, we repeated the vowel sound a. Next, fleet feet sweep by sleeping geese. So as you can see here, we repeated the vowel sound e. Next, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. So we have here repeated the sound a. Next, we have the Cataphora. It is an earlier expression refers or describes a forward expression. Example, if you go there now, the party will start. So here, the word there is a Cataphora because it refers to the party which hasn't been mentioned before that point. Next example, why do we envy him, the bankrupt man? The word him is Cataphora because it refers to the bankrupt man. Next example, if you want some, I've just made a fantastic loaf of banana bread. So the word some is the Cataphora because it pertains to banana bread. Next, we have chiasmus. Chiasmus is a word or grammatical constructions or concepts repeated in reverse order, in the same or in modified form. So example, people must live to work, not just work to live. So as you can see here, the phrase live to work was repeated but in reverse form, which is work to live. Next example, Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. So here, the negotiate out of fear was also repeated, but in reverse form, with some modifications or changes, which is never fear to negotiate. Next example, we were elected to change Duterte, and we let Duterte change us. So, change Duterte was repeated in reverse manner with some modifications or changes, which is Duterte change us. Next, we have the climax. The climax is the words or phrases, clauses arranged in order of increasing importance. So this is the reverse of anticlimax. So here it shows the highest point of interest or in order of increasing importance or value. Example, let a man acknowledge his obligations to himself, his family, his country, and his God. So as you can see here, God comes last because among those previously stated, God is more important. Same thing with our next example, which is three things will remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of this is love. So those are climax. Next, we have dysphemism. It is the use of a harsh, more offensive word instead of one considered less harsh. So this is the opposite of euphemism. So, example, calling the television an idiot box, or calling a homosexual man as faggot. We also have using tub of lard for someone who is overweight. Another example, calling cancer stick in reference to a cigarette. So those are the dysphemism. Next, we have the ellipsis. It is the omission of a word or words. So example, Rizal spoke 7 languages. Bonifacio only 2. So as you can see here, we omit or remove some of the words. Next, she can help with the housework. Nancy can too. So if you're going to make the sentence in the complete form, we can say, she can help with the housework. Nancy can help with the housework too. Next, example of ellipsis. We went to the city and arrived home after midnight. So as you can see here, we have ellipsis. So if you're going to complete this statement, we can say, we went to the city, shopped, ate lunch, and arrived home after midnight. So that's the end of our discussion for today. I hope you've learned something in our lesson. Thank you.